Living for a living, baby. How you doing?
Where do I start? How do I want to start this question?
By the way, is the podcast started or are we just still shooting the shit?
I think now we're starting. Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
cool.
I don't know where exactly I'll start it of what we did, but yeah, I'll probably start. Yeah. Now we've started for sure.
Yeah. This is the start button. Boom.
Yeah, boom. But okay, first let me start. Is you said you're doing the social media break. What? Tell me about that. What's that all about?
Dude,
I was curious about that.
I just decided to take a quick break from social media. Like, it's probably going to end in a couple of days because I have to get back to like essentially work, right? Like this isn't like, I still feel weird calling this work, but it's work. It's like I don't even really enjoy it all that much anymore. Like it's just a thing that I've built, and now I'm kind of like still doing it because it's working. So I'm just going to keep going.
You mean like TikTok and stuff, or?
Yeah, like TikTok, social media stuff, just in general. Yeah. And then all of the stuff that comes from that, like the mixing stuff and the music stuff and all that. Right. But no, I took a break just because it's like, there's this constant just feed of information, both positive and negative, that's like constantly hitting my brain all the time. And I realized a couple of weeks back that I'm in a place where like I'm very, like, I think I'm severely depressed. I'm not sure. I'm not like clinically diagnosed or anything like that. Okay. But like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't enjoy things anymore. Waking up in the morning is difficult. I don't want to talk to people very often. You know, like the things that I used to do for recreation and fun, I just don't do them anymore. Stuff like that. And I realized it's because it's like there's this oversaturation of like very sensory heavy information that is like constantly just hitting my brain. And it just feels like it's just kind of this constant state of like mush. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, dude, like I very much appreciate, I like how we started this with like, well, we might not always be truthful and give the best versions of yourself in first 5 minutes. I think I'm pretty depressed, and but like I appreciate that. And I mean, you saying that, because I don't know how to explain it exactly, but man, I've been feeling in a funk of some sorts, like, and I don't know if I've actually I could relate it to social media or anything, but yeah. That's why I was curious about asking you about the social media break, is because I was like, maybe should I try something like that? Like it's what app do you use most? Like, what do you feel like there's a specific thing that triggers yourself to think like, okay, it's time to chill?
Like in regards to the apps that I use, or just like in general?
I guess in general, yeah.
I don't know. Like, okay, so I'll start with like TikTok. TikTok is the one that I use the most, obviously. And I think I noticed it when I would see things on the internet that were happening, and I would have this very extreme, like visceral reaction to it. You know what I mean? Like there's like someone says something stupid, and my brain's instant reaction is like, this person is horrible. I hate them. They're terrible. Blah, 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 blah. Right. And you got to catch yourself doing that shit, because it's like, you got to take a step back and go like, whoa, okay, I don't know who this person is. I've never met them in real life. I just know one snippet of a piece of their personality that is like being portrayed to me on an app in less than 60 seconds. Right. For all I know, this person is like the sweetest human being on the planet. This person might even just be the nicest. And I just noticed it, like it kept happening and happening and happening. And then slowly over time, as like I continued to like engage with things that made me like angry and sad and like extremely emotional, on the other side of things, I would engage in my real life less.
Okay.
Right. Okay. I wouldn't call my friends as much. I would spend more time playing video games. I wouldn't spend as much time with my girlfriend as I should. I'm not going for bike rides. I'm not going for walks. I'm skipping, my Wing Thursday at my favorite wing spot. You know what I mean? Like,
skipping Wing Thursday, man.
I know. How could I fucking,
Jesus.
It's like $5.50 for a beer and $5 for 10 wings. Like
Oh gosh,
that's a good deal, you know?
damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, not to make a joke out, but fuck, something's up then if you're fuck your girlfriend, all the other shit, bike rides, but Wing Thursday, man. Jesus.
You know something's fucked up if you're skipping Wing Thursday. Yeah. So I got rid of it, and over the last couple of weeks, I've noticed, like, like I hung out with a friend last night. I forced myself to go to Queen Elizabeth Park, which is a park in Vancouver, and like just like enjoy the day. You know what I mean? Like little things where I'm like, okay, this is so much better than
Just
what I was doing.
the loop of apps, and then like, bro, I've been playing so much goddamn Clash Royale lately. It's just I know it was getting bad. Like I said, I can relate to what you're saying very much. That's why I'm glad you said it, so I can say I just relate to it and I didn't have to bring it up. But but I know it was getting to a bad point with Clash Royale, because I'm like, maybe I could go on Twitch and do Clash Royale. I was like, no, dude, this is supposed to be a game you play while you go poop. Like that's all it's supposed to really be. But the one thing you said about having reactions to someone based on one thing that they said, do you think that could be, because I noticed this in myself also, and some of the stuff you say on TikTok and through your content like gets bad reactions from people because you're speaking your mind, you're being truthful, you're not holding back, you're not trying to please everyone. And like I noticed the same thing with myself, where there's been a couple videos out here in Finland where like people get fucking pissed on the video, on the comments and telling me all kinds of crazy shit. And I've caught myself like, dude, I'll leave a negative comment sometimes now, like I'll say something about someone being stupid, or like on one of the like my thing that just kills me now is the debate me TikTok lives of, whatever it may be. And I'll leave a comment on it and then leave. I'll just say, go get a hobby, like go get a fucking hobby. And then here I am, the guy doing it. But anyway, long drawn out question. Do you think that there's any correlation with you getting that at times, like then almost like you're mirroring that energy in a way?
Oh yeah, like someone does it to me, so I do it back to them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think to a degree, yeah. Like the more negative energy that I receive, the more that I want to put back out in the world. Yeah, right. So it's like I realized it because like I deleted everything and I went back to look at my TikTok notifications on my computer the other day, and I just saw all of like the comments of people just like interacting with something that I posted, and it's just like a few of them are positive, a couple of them are funny, and then a bunch of them are negative. And all the negative ones, like I remembered the feeling and it hit me, and I wasn't numb to it anymore because I hadn't looked at it for 2 weeks, right? And it comes back and it's like, holy shit, this is what I've been putting up with, this is what I've been interacting with. No wonder I'm so pissed off, no wonder I'm so unhappy. Yeah, like, and this the fucked up thing is like I have to do it because I've built this thing. Like I'm and this sounds conceited, but I don't give a shit. I'm robbing skies.
yeah, for sure.
This is what I do. And it's like, well, how do I stop? How do I put a boundary up? How do I put a wall up where like this isn't eating away at my soul, but I'm still capable of benefiting from this thing that I built?
Yeah, no, and like all like Rogan and some of the other like podcast guys I listen to will always say like post and ghost kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I would love to think of myself as someone who could do that, but maybe this is just my own self like built up thing, because like, bro, it again, I'll match your conceited argument is like I've become like low-key TikTok famous here in Finland off of talking about this shit, where last night was the first night that the bars were open until a normal like 3 a.m 4 a.m time, so I went out for the culture. And bro, I would get recognized last year, like before I left, but like it was to the point this year where it was like every 5 steps I took, like someone was saying something, and it like it's kind of cool, you know, like the narcissist in you like is like, yeah, this is fucking dope. But and it's always positive in real life, but man, some of the, you know, it's always positive. Like actually I had one chick come up to me yesterday. It was like, do you have a podcast? And I'm like, no one ever asked that. You know, it's always the TikTok thing. I was like, yeah, well, and she like, we weren't having a conversation. I was talking to somebody else. And at the very end, she's like, well, my friend told me you have a podcast and you say, like misogynistic things. I just wanted to let you know I don't like that. And I was like,
okay.
Oh, okay. But just like my friend told me, I have no clue who you are. I've never seen it, but I'm mad about it. It was like, oh, I mean, but you, what's the last video that has gotten you like stuff where you're like, huh, really? People are saying that.
Fucking the one that made me delete TikTok for the last couple of weeks. I posted a few after it, but I made a video basically just talking about how like Canada is in a weird spot. And like I just explained like all the problems that are happening in this country, right? Like things are expensive, opioid epidemic, indigenous communities don't have clean water. This feels like there's really no future anymore. Like it feels like Canada is just like falling apart. And some of the negative, like there were a lot of comments that were agreeing with me. There were a lot of comments that were disagreeing with me. There were a lot of jokey comments, but there's also a lot of like, we'll just leave. You're not wanted here. Like, be appreciative. Like, oh, go to a third world country. And it's like, God, it's not even like, it doesn't feel like a, it's just so like, it's void of any intelligence to say something like that. It's just blanket stupid. Because you're not engaging with the argument. You're just having a reaction to me saying something that you don't like, right? I'm saying that the country's not as good as it could be. And you found that, you took that personal, you found that personally offensive. And then you decide to make some shitty retort. But the thing is, the video did 4.4 million views.
Okay, I was gonna say that one, like when I was just scrolling through your stuff before, like earlier today to double check. I was like, damn, that one went crazy.
It went crazy, yeah. And it like fucking Newsweek wrote an article about it.
Oh, what?
Yeah. Newsweek wrote an article about that TikTok video, and it was like, and it, like, you know, but just that, and then all of the comments and just the constant deluge, it just got overwhelming. And I was like, oh fuck, goddamn, like I'm just trying to talk about stuff that like matters to me.
Yes. And
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And like, it's TikTok. There's 60-second videos. There's no room for nuance. You want nuance, listen to the podcast. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like and we can do nuance through a series of videos. If you make a comment and it's smart, and I'll respond to it and whatever, but it got way too much. And it made me really like, it gave me a sense of like, okay, this is what I should be talking about, because obviously it's a very important topic because of the reaction I got from it, but I need to figure out a way to do it that doesn't make me want to kill myself.
Yeah, no, you know? Dude, that's 4 million. That's insane. I mean, and did you obviously kind of thought like, you knew when you probably posted it like, oh, this will get a reaction, but you probably had no clue that kind of reaction at all.
Well, I've been avoiding that conversation because I love Canadians. I'm a Canadian. I love my countrymen, but they are some of the most blindly patriotic motherfuckers on the planet. Even more blind than Americans sometimes. And they're blind in their opposition to America. So they're the Canadian ethos essentially is just, we're not America. And if you say that Canada is in any way, shape, or form worse than America, they lose their collective marbles. They have like Canadians just, and I do it too. Like I feel it. Like when I watch hockey and an American hockey team beats a Canadian hockey team, I want to throw hands. You know what I mean? Like I get mad, right? Because it's like, how dare you be better at our sport than us? You know? But like, yeah, it's just Canadian. So I knew the reaction I was going to get. I knew that there was a subsection of, you know, mostly like mouth breathing, like white Canadians who are going to be like, what do you mean? We have healthcare. Canada better than America.
It's not the US.
What we don't have guns.
Yeah.
Good. Like, okay.
Dude. And then did Newsweek contact you? Like, bro, hearing Newsweek on a TikTok, like we're in an alternate universe now at this point, like
I know. They and it was a stupid article. It was literally, she was just recounting what I said and then just put in a couple of random pieces of statistics. That was it. But it was like,
so you like did their job for you, wrote the article for them, basically.
Essentially, yeah. And she reached out for me for comment at but it was 2 hours before the article got posted. She reached out for comment, but they are in New York. They're based in New York. So I got the email at like 7 a.m. and I don't wake up till 8. So it's like, I check my emails at 9, right? I have my breakfast, I brush my teeth, I get ready for the day, and then I check my emails. And then 9 o'clock, I check it. I'm like, oh yeah, I would comment. That's perfectly fine. You're writing an article on me, whatever. I'll comment, no worries. And I never got a response back. And I sent a message to my group chat like 15 minutes later, 30 minutes later, I think, because 30 minutes. I think like in the business world, like 30 minutes for an email response is reasonable if the person's actually on their shit. And Leslie, my buddy Leslie, was like, you mean this article? And he posted it in the group chat. And I was like, the fuck? And I like read it and I was like, this is so dumb. And he's like, yeah, this is the worst written article I've ever seen. Like, this woman should get fired. And whoa. And I was like, yeah, it was very like stupid. And it's like she said, she posted something where it was like, what did she say? She said, he says that Robin Skies says that actually, I'll just pull it up.
Yeah,
hold on. We'll pull a Joe Rogan. Jamie, pull that up.
Jamie. We're both Jamie at this point.
You got a little guy in the other room named Jamie. He's like pulling it up. Robin Skies Newsweek.
Yeah, actually, for one episode, actually, this is a very random living for a living thing. One episode, I have a producer on here. I put like a little like help wanted thing on TikTok in Finland, and I had quite a bit of response. And
really?
It was like this girl who was in college for like multimedia stuff and wanted to just be involved in a podcast, but it only happened once. We'll put it like that. It didn't work. My one homie who like listens to every episode was like, bro, I know you're trying stuff, but that's not it. That's not it. I was like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, with stuff like that, you got to find the right person
for sure.
Okay, so this is the part that really irked me. She said, so I talked about how it was expensive to live in Canada, the cost of everything is going up, and she quoted the Canadian visa website, and the Canadian visa website says, for a single person to live comfortably in Canada, the estimated monthly cost is about $883 and about $3,166 for a family of 4. So essentially, the monthly cost of living comfortably in Canada for a single person is $883, according to the Canadian visa website. It is also estimated that a good salary in Canada is about $61,000 annually, while entry-level jobs start at about $25,000 on average. The second half is, yeah, that's true. I would say the average, I don't know, good salary is getting closer to 100,000 in some places, but you probably 61 is probably still doable. I can't think of anybody in any part of this country that could live on $883 a month.
Yeah, dude. I just
like, and it's like, sure, the Canadian visa website says that, they're fucking lying. Like, there's no other way to put it. There's no other way. There's some fucking bullshit going on somewhere where they're not telling the truth about that. Because like, even in buttfuck Saskatchewan, like in a small town,
maybe in Saskatchewan you could get a room for like $250 or something.
Like, but probably if you're outside the major cities, and then at that point, what are you doing for work?
Yeah, well, and that's not average.
Yeah,
that's like the not definition of average at all.
Yeah. Because I mean, what is it like? Fucking like 7 million people live in the Greater Toronto area. I think the city of Toronto is 2.5, and I think the GTA is 7. So that's like what our population is, like 40 million. That's almost a quarter of our population lives in Toronto.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
right? So it's like,
and their rent itself is at least 800, you know?
oh God, dude, a rent on a single, a rent on a fucking studio apartment in the Greater Toronto area, you're probably looking at $1,600 a month.
Whew. Jesus.
Right?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I mean, all the major cities now at this point, it feels like I don't know how so many people afford to live there. It doesn't seem sustainable at all.
I have no idea.
You know,
I live in a major city.
Yeah, I mean, it like you could argue the West Coast, it makes sense because there's a lot of motherfuckers that are sleeping without a house. So you see, you have actual like physical evidence of it not being possible. But
yeah,
I mean, no, just anywhere in either the US or even then Canada too. It's like, how do so many people pay so much? And it doesn't seem feasible.
So, at least for a lot of people, like, and I think it's similar in the States, and essentially any North America or like first world country, like a lot of people really do just live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's, let's say you have a job that pays you, if you're lucky, let's say like what, $18 an hour. Right. It's what, like maybe like $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Maybe 2,400.
Yeah.
Right. But a lot of that taxes come off the top. Right. And then your rent is like, you're splitting a 2-bedroom apartment. Your rent is going to be like $1,200 just for you. Right. And then you got to get food, and you got to get, you got to pay for your electricity, and you got to pay for your bus pass, and you got to pay for, if you got a car insurance, and then by the end of it, you got like $50 left.
Yeah. And then you got to try and have fun.
Yeah. Somewhere.
Like
somehow.
do something, I mean, that's
like,
even here in Europe, for the most part, the idea of saving isn't a like super popular idea, because at least from an American perspective, you need to save because in case some shit goes down, in case, even if you have insurance, you're still going to have to pay something.
Premiums, deductibles.
Yeah. You're going to have to pay something if, your job goes away, you got to make it work. You're not going to get unemployment. You only get unemployment for so long. But like here in Finland, for the most part, I feel like everyone lives much more paycheck to paycheck, but in a much more relaxed state, because if some shit does happen, they're normally pretty taken care of in that regard. But
yeah,
there's still like the free healthcare thing. I'm all for like super affordable healthcare, but it's like when it's free for everyone, then normally like the timing of it is pretty slow. And so just hearing some friends around here with issues of like, oh yeah, like I can get a free appointment, but it's not for another 5 months. And I'm like, well, what if the problem's worse in 5 months,
Yeah. It's the same thing in Canada, actually. So our healthcare system my God, I'm about to go down a rabbit hole. So
we can pull out real quick. No homo.
So pause. The Canadian healthcare system has been broken for like 20 years. Right. Wait times, when Ted Cruz goes on stage and he's like, wait times in Canada are awful, right? And he's like, all the Republicans are like, oh, wait times. Like there is a lot of truth to that, actually. And it's funny when Bernie Sanders then says like, oh no, wait times are good, everything is fine, universal healthcare is great. No, Bernie, he has a point. Like wait times are horrendous. It took me 4 or 5 months to get to just get a CT scan.
Sheesh.
Right. For my kidney stone. I had a kidney stone. It was awful. It was terrible. The worst experience I've ever had in my entire life. It felt like a piece of glass was ripping through the inside of me, and it was fucking awful.
Oh,
I wouldn't wish that on my worst. If you, young men, listen to me. Here's my tip. Young women as well, because you can get these. Drink lots of water. and reduce the amount of salt that you eat. Like just drink 2 liters of water every day, because if you keep drinking, Joey, yes, because because if not, one day you might wake up in the middle of the night and you might have an extreme pain in your back and you won't know what it is, and then all of a sudden you'll be on the floor screaming in agony, and it won't stop. It won't stop. No matter how many morphine pills you take, it won't stop. And the ambulance will come pick you up and they'll be like, what's wrong? And be like, kidney stone. And they'll be like, oh, you poor son of a bitch. And then they'll take you to the hospital and you put you through triage really fast. And they'll put a little needle in your arm and they'll pump you full of drugs to put you to sleep, to get you through the pain until the little attack is over. And then they send you home with more pills. And they say, well, if this happens again, take them and just grit it out, because we're not going to do anything else. So
yeah, it's just nature. You gotta let nature happen.
You just gotta let nature run its course. All right. You just gotta piss a rock out of your dick. Okay. That's just what you have to do. Right. A little calcium oxalate stone is gonna come out of the tip of your dick if you don't drink enough water. So
and it's water. Like a legit, like, what color is it?
Different ones are different colors. Everything from like white to black. Because there's a bunch of different kinds of stones. Yeah, there's calcium oxalate. There's I think there's ones that are like sodium based, stuff like that.
Yeah, just where I thought this one was gonna go, kidney stones.
I have another one waiting to go as well. Like I when they did the CT scan, the first time, because they in the hospital they just gave me one right away just to diagnose me, and then they said that I would need another CT scan later on down the road, and that's why it took me 5 months to get my second one, when I should have gotten it a month later, because I passed the kidney stone after about a month. And the doctor was like, you have 2. There's one on its way out and you have one more just sitting in your kidney, and it could go at any time. And I was like, cool.
So you just kind of know you're like playing Russian roulette kind of just every day a little bit.
Yeah, I'm excited because I have a feeling like I'm gonna take a trip somewhere. Like I'm gonna go to, like, New York or something, and I'm gonna be like in the back of a cab, and all of a sudden, like, it'll happen, and I'll be like, oh fuck, it's literally the worst place for this to happen. I'm about to pay through the nose, like.
Oh man, well, as much as I want to talk more about kidney stones and shitty healthcare, let's reroute, and I want to get into more like music stuff, because we really didn't talk about any music stuff that much last time. We just kind of talked about stories and everything like that, and I will say that Zeitgeist Poltergeist is still I think one of my favorite songs, and that and Sunny Days. And I know you make a look of like, I don't even fucking like that song, but
I hate those songs.
I know, but why do you hate them? What's the why?
The production is just bad.
But in terms of production, are you kind of talking about shit that the average person listener like me would just not have a clue? Or
depending on what depending on what your tolerance is to like sound design, then yeah, like I noticed that a lot of people ignore the very obvious flaws in Zeitgeist Poltergeist, for example, like the piano and like the mixing and like the way that the drums sound and everything like that, because they really for some reason just fuck with that song. I don't get it. Like,
so I'm not the only one who says this.
Oh dude, I get it all the time. People are like, I love that song, and I'm like, are you on crack? Like, dude, I don't get it. But
I think for me it's the lyrics, because like the lyrics are so fucking catchy and they're super raw and real, and so it's like, I think sometimes for me, I can, if it's bars, it could be a cappella, like it's going to be that good. And so I think for me, that's probably, and my ear isn't attuned to listening to the details probably that obviously you are.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like I do love that opening line. Like, I don't got a heart, but I'm brokenhearted. Like,
Dude, so good.
I've thought about trying to like redo that song, because I actually really like, I go back and listen to it, and like, yeah, that is badass. Like, that is so good. And I think if the production was better, like that song would probably like do very fucking well. But I have this weird thing about trying to not go back. I always just want to go forward.
Mm.
Right. I don't want to revisit old songs. I want to make new ones.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, yeah. And then Sunny Days is the other one that surprisingly a lot of people seem to like from my older catalog, which I get off of that album. It's like the most upbeat. It's like, it's kind of got this like fun pop vibe, you know?
For sure. No, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, when you are gonna start a song, what's your process like? Like, is it a pretty like rigid process, or does it different every time? Or, that's what I was kind of thinking the other day, is like, when you're producing and singing and writing the lyrics and doing everything, what comes first? Do the lyrics come first? Does a bass line come, whatever? I'm just throwing out the
Yeah. No,
music terms I know.
I don't have a set strategy. I noticed that if I do try and do like redo things that I did in the past, I hit walls. So like because it's like, it's not the natural progression. I'm trying to follow a path that's already been beaten. And for me, music creation and writing and songs are very much me trying to go off the beaten path, right? It's me trying. You'll notice with my discography, like a lot of my music is very like, I don't have a sound. Like, it's all very like all over the place. The only thing
Right.
that's consistent is like maybe my voice and the fact that I really like 808s. Like, I really like 808s, so I use them all the time. Maybe the mood is very similar across the board, but generally I just keep trying different things until like it happens, right? There's a moment where it happens, and it just, this little fucking right lightning bolt just strikes my brain, and I'm sitting there and I'm like wired, like my eyes are huge. I'm like, fuck, this is good. And I like keep going and I keep going, and I'm sitting here rocking in my chair and like ready to throw hands with anyone that comes in the room. And then like when I'm done with it, I turn up the volume and I go out in the other room and I'm like yelling it and I'm having a good time. That's when I know like I've struck gold, but I just have to keep chipping away at it in different ways, whether it be like, okay, I'll lay down some synths. Those synths suck. I'll try some drums. Those drums suck. Maybe I'll do some lyric session. I don't know. This feels awkward. You know what? I'm gonna go for a walk, and I'll go for a walk, and I'll come home, and you know, I'll like just be like, fuck it, and I'll just put down a couple of synths or like a couple of keys on a keyboard or something, and then I'll just like start saying words, and then it'll be like, oh, I really like that. I like that. Whatever that is, I like it, and I keep it, and then I cut the other stuff out, and then I redo the other stuff, and then it's like, this new stuff is good, but the thing that I liked, I don't like anymore, so I get rid of that, right? and then over time, it's like you kind of just chip away at it until you get bits and pieces, and then all of a sudden, it's like you got kind of this like half-hashed beat, got like some chords put down, a little bass line maybe, and then I sit in the mic and I just start singing. And usually that's the moment where it happens. Like, it'll be like, I'll say like a line. It'll just be one line, just fucking random, just like out of the back of my head, just like
just
a little
total freestyle.
Just nothing. It'll just be
Okay.
like just words, right? Just will happen. I think it was my most popular song, Indie Movie Night 1, right? That's basically the process. And I put down the the keys. I had this little synth. It was such a stupid, simple beat. And I started that beat in February of 2021, right? And the vocals that I had over it were like really sad and gross and whatever. And I was living in this apartment, or living in another apartment in this building with my girlfriend. We had just moved in together, just unpacked all of our boxes, and I was listening to the beat, and I was working on it, and I just kind of chopped it up a little bit and kind of put some spaces in some different areas, and I liked it. And I was like, this is nice. And then I set up the microphone, and I was standing there. I was like, I don't know what to sing about. I don't know what to sing about. I don't know. Well, I just moved from one place to another. And where did Emma live? Emma lived there. And then it just kind of came out. And I was like, Woodland Drive to West Kings Road. And then it was like, I'm with you and no one knows. And then it just started flowing. Keep you safe, keep you close. I'm in love and no one knows. And it just, right. And it just came out. And I was like, oh, that's it.
Oh,
that's it. That's it. There it is. Oh, this feels good. I like this. Right. And you just kind of keep, then you get it out. And it just makes it so fucking simple. Like the hardest part is not overthinking it. The hardest part is just saying the thing that's on your mind, just saying the thing that's on your heart. That's the hardest part, because musicians are they're so fucking and I love them. And that's me. This is me. But we're self-centered as fuck. So we're constantly thinking about the things that we're saying and thinking about the things we're doing and
thinking how someone else will think about them. And yeah. And then thinking how I'm going to think about them thinking about me thinking. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And it's just, so it gets to a point where it kills it. And the number one tip is just get out of your own fucking head and just say what's on your heart. That's it.
But do you always this like it feeling with every song that you've put out? I notice this with whether it's been podcasting in the past or video editing or certain things, like the newest one, when you post it, normally it always feels like the one.
Yeah.
Like, do you get that same thing?
I used to, until I had a couple that were actually like good. And then now I'm like, okay, this one's not the one, but I did it. So I'm going to put it out. You know what I mean? And I've had two of those, like, how to identify an indie movie night one, and Bleed. I think Bleed was the other one. Cause Bleed was the first song, and I put it out before I even had TikTok. Bleed was the first song, where, I put something out and the reaction I got back was like, good. Like, people were really into it. Small amount of people, because no one knew who I was, but the people who saw it were into it. And then I had a bunch of songs in between that and How to Identify. And How to Identify was another one where I had, like, it hit me and I was like, yeah, all right. And then I put it out and it got a good reaction. And then the same thing with Indie Movie Night 1. The funny thing about Indie Movie Night 1, though, is I had that it moment. I was like, this is great. And then I listened back to it like a week later before I decided to put it out. And I was like, it'll probably do okay. It was like 2.5 minutes. It's a cheesy little love song. There's nothing about this song that is standoutish to me. Like, production is simple. Literally, there's like 4 parts, or like 6 parts. There's 2 vocal takes, a synth, a bass, kick, snare, hi-hat. That's it. That's the whole fucking thing, and it just repeats over and over.
How much, like, what? So 7 things. How much does something else have? Like, what's the average? Because I don't know shit about that.
Oh, on average, I could make a song that has close to like 20 to 30 stems.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. Like,
so 7. Yeah, you're super simple
nothing.
then. Okay.
Yeah. Dumb simple. Super simple, dumb simple. And you know, I thought, it's just a cute song about my girlfriend. I'll put it out. She'll be happy. You know, I wrote a song about her. She'll be happy, right? And then, took off. Just took off. It's, hold on. Let me check. Last time I checked, it has 330,000 streams on Spotify.
Damn.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Shit.
And I'm like, ooh.
And I checked your monthly listeners before we did this, but it's blank in my mind. Like, your monthly listeners is getting, like, how, maybe this is do you feel successful with how everything's going right now? And then also then what is success in the like how are you gonna measure it? Because like
So
music, I mean, I guess you can win awards and shit, but it's different than sports in the way where like you can win a championship, you can win an MVP, and you can measure a success that way. Like, how do you do it yourself?
yeah, with sports, it's objective because you're just tallying up points, really.
Yeah, yeah, it's incredibly objective.
Yeah. So I'll answer that question. I'll answer it. I have three answers. The first is to your question, do you feel successful? Yes.
Cool.
Second answer to your question, do you feel successful? No.
Mm.
Third answer to your question, how do you define success? Well, it's subjective. Do I feel successful? Fuck yes. Are you kidding me? I have 40,000, 45,000 monthly listeners. My song
Okay,
has
yeah.
330,000 streams. I have 145,000 followers on TikTok. I've started a small business where I'm doing mixing and mastering for clients, and I'm helping build a new generation of musicians, right? Like, these are things that I'm doing, and I'm succeeding in them to the extent that I am seeing growth. But the no part to that answer is, by the metrics that the world would place upon me, am I successful? No, because this isn't making me enough money to pay all my bills. I still have a part-time job, right? I'm not famous enough to walk into a restaurant and be seated instantly and not have to wait in a lineup, right? I'm recognizable enough that I get recognized, which you're right. Like, it's positive almost always. The negative people barely ever come up to you and say anything.
Never. Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. That was one question I was going to ask you, was like, how often does it happen to you, and what are the interactions like? Because I'm a little bit of a like big fish in a small pond, as like the random American guy that's talking shit about Finland, or like that's how I get perceived at times. And I'm in a small town, and so if you're in like a big city and don't stand out as much, I was like, I wonder if it happens to him like in the same,
Yeah, probably not as much as it happens to you, because you're right. You are a big fish in a small pond.
It
Finland's
only
not a very
happens
large
at the
country.
bars, though. It only happens when people are
Yeah.
drunk, for the
Of course.
most part. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Because Finnish people aren't going to talk to you otherwise.
no. Maybe I've gotten a couple times, like the cashier at the grocery store,
Yeah.
like real soft under his voice will ask. And then other than that, it's only at the bars when guys are fucked up.
Yeah. They just want to shit talk and have a good time. Yeah. No, it happens from time to time. And always in the most random times, right? And it's always guys. I've never been ever recognized by a woman. It's always dudes, which is fine. I have a girlfriend. I'm not trying to but I just noticed that. I thought it was really interesting. Like last time it happened, I was talking to a bouncer because the lineup at the bar was fucking crazy. We never ended up even getting in. Like, the lineup was so backed up, right? And I walked up to the bouncer to talk to him, and there's some kid in the VIP line, and he was like, "Holy shit! Oh my God, it's you!" And I was like, "Hey, thanks, man." And the bouncer's like, "What? Who the fuck are you?" And I was like,
Bro, I've had the exact same thing. That's so funny.
Right. And he was like, what, how does he know you? I was like, I'm on TikTok. And his friends, the kid was like, "Yeah, he's on TikTok." And his friend was like, "Yeah, you're TikTok famous." And the bouncer was like, "What is that, Facebook? I have no idea. What the fuck is TikTok?" And I was like, it's a dumb app. It's a really dumb app. And then the kid went in, and me and the bouncer were talking a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, since I'm TikTok famous, you can just like let me and my friends in, right?" And he was just like, "No, can't do that."
TikTok famous. I don't even know what TikTok is, buddy. I'm sorry.
And I was like, "All right, well, it was worth a fucking try."
For sure.
I'm not famous enough. I'm that famous. I'm famous enough to get recognized by some dumb kid who's going in ahead of me, but not, yeah.
But that has absolutely no pull on actually getting in.
Yeah, because the bouncer doesn't give a shit who I am. Like he's like, he looked like he was in his fucking 40s, right? Am I some hot 20-year-old with my tits out? No, like, he doesn't care.
No, not at all. How much do you think, like, how much of the music, maybe this is a weird question, But how much of like the music success with the listeners and views and stuff do you then credit to TikTok?
Oh, no, that's a hard question. So without TikTok, I would not be doing anything on Spotify, right? Because that's where my base is. But I would probably say, like, honestly, like 1% of my audience actually listens to my music.
1% from TikTok.
TikTok, yeah,
Yeah.
like
But then
very,
still at 150,000 followers, 1%'s a good, like
yeah.
that's
It's enough to get the algorithm to notice my music, and then they pump it onto people's playlists.
okay.
That's
Okay.
that's how I've had my success, right? Any Movie Night One had like a decent breakout because I had a couple of TikToks that went viral in regards to that song, and my followers, like, as well as people off the For You page, really fucked with it. So my followers show up and they listen to my music consistently. That 1% show up and listen to it consistently, right? But if I have a moment where there's a one of my songs does well on the app, even if it's people who don't follow me, they go listen to it. Spotify then notices, hey, there's this song. It's got a couple thousand streams in the first week, and from a couple thousand people. Like, that's interesting. Let's put it onto let's put it onto 1,000 people's playlists and just see what it does. And then, out of those 1,000 people, like, let's say, 25% of them like the song, listen to it, save it, whatever. And Spotify goes, okay, so that 25%, that 250 people liked it. Let's put it on the playlists, another 1,000 playlists, or another 1,000 people's playlists, but similar to that 25%. And then it does a little bit better. And then they slowly work it through the algorithm until it's like sitting, so let's say 20,000 streams or whatever. And then Spotify's like, okay, this song is done well enough. Let's bump it up to the next rung and the next rung and the next rung. And then, recently I had a big bump where Spotify, showed my song to like 10,000 people in a day.
And how do you know that? It like
I have analytics, so
okay.
I can see what's happening to a degree, and I can kind of follow it. And the trend that I noticed is that if I have a song that does well, like really, really well in the first couple of weeks, and then it maintains a consistent listener base for a month or two, it doesn't have to be as big as the first couple of weeks, but consistent in the sense that people continuously listen to it and add it to their playlists and stream it, then Spotify will go bing, and we'll put it onto other things and see how it does. And then that proliferates into other areas because people put it on their work playlists, which they play at coffee shops and gyms and bars. And then I can look at Apple Music and I can see how many times my song has been Shazammed. And then I can also notice my Apple Music analytics get a little bit better when my Spotify is getting better. And then my Instagram grows when Spotify is doing well because my Spotify is linked and my Instagram is linked to my Spotify, and people come up, and it's a cycle.
Yeah, and it's like hard to pinpoint where the starting dot is.
Yes.
You connect the dots, and yeah, because that the music thing is just super interesting to me. One of my best friends that I played with in Portugal, he has a little like a duo that he's doing. He lives in LA, and I've been just hounding him like, bro, you guys have to be on TikTok. Like, if Instagram is cool and all, but like Instagram isn't it for like the just completely organic growth, for new ears and new eyes. And so especially the last time I talked to him about it, I used you as the example. I was like, bro, one of my buddies I've had on the podcast, like, he fucking kills it. I was like, half the time he's not even talking about it, he's just being him. I was like, that's the point that I think a lot of people lose nowadays, that I finally figured out with this podcast thing, was like, for the podcast, it's like my audience for the most part is people that fuck with me.
Yeah.
And they feel like they like me and know me in one way or another, and we have met at some point. I was like, so they're going to just listen to it because it's me. And the same way with some music sometimes, like, obviously it has to be entertaining music, but if it's just a random song, or it's like your song, I would probably lean towards your song because I know and I fuck with you, and so
Yeah.
you get this like a tiebreaker kind of thing that by the only way for random motherfuckers to know you at this point, you could sit on the sidewalk and introduce yourself to everybody, but that's not super efficient. Where TikTok, your shit can go 100,000 in a day
Yeah. For like
views.
no reason.
Yeah, for no
Yeah,
reason.
but beyond the fact that people just like whatever the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like I think a lot of artists still live in this mindset where they think like, oh, music has to come first. It's all about the music. It's this and that. And it's like, no, we're past that. Like 2016 SoundCloud rappers absolutely
Yes.
killed music first. It is personality first. People give a shit about the human behind the song more than anything else. And if you are not a person, if you're just some person who's like got a microphone in your room with like a nice background who's just singing covers, you might do maybe you might if you're pretty and
And you might get a
have
viral, like something to go viral.
yeah, but there's no consistency or longevity there. Like
No.
there's very little consistency or longevity there because it's gonna fade, and there's only so many times you can do the same fucking thing over and over and over and over and over again before people say, I'm done, I'm bored.
Yeah, we heard it. We heard it.
Yeah, we know what you're doing. That's why I feel so bad, man, for people who blow up and then they get into a niche and they stick with that niche. And it just like there's this guy that looks exactly like me. And he went from like fucking he went from like 20,000 followers to like 500,000 in 2 weeks.
Whoa.
Just because he makes videos like really cringe cursed videos and they're funny, right? Whatever. Where he like his eyebrows are all like this and he like he's making this face and he like makes video. He's got a split tongue, right? And like he makes little like funny feet video things and people like it. They fuck with it. And I thought it was funny and I still think that it's funny. But I know that at a certain point that's gonna fall off.
Yeah.
Right? That's gonna fall off the map. I mean, like and if you're not like, and that's the hard part, man, because when you have something blow up, when you have a video go viral and then your next video doesn't go as viral, it hurts. Like it's physically painful, like it hits and you think, but the thing is you have to splice those videos in there where you're talking about a bunch of different shit, and sometimes they're going to do really fucking well and sometimes they're not. But if you're not doing that, you're just doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again, one day it's going to drop off a cliff, it's going to peter out, and then you're not going to have any relationship with your audience because they're not going to know anything outside of that one niche that you do. And when you try and reintroduce yourself, people will just be like, aren't you that guy who does that thing? You're not a person, you're just that guy that does that thing.
Yeah Damn, dude. No, like that hits to hear it verbalized that way, that hits super hard because I know, like, if I say Finland or Finnish people or whatever in the first 2 seconds of my video, like it's gonna do well.
Yeah.
It'll for sure. My like does well metric in my mind is as long as it gets over 10,000 views, because then when you're scrolling through on the thing, like 10.1, like once you get the point, it's like, okay, that's a good one,
it looks nice.
Yeah, it looks nice. Yeah, like yeah. I like that, and don't give me 4 fucking digits. I don't want to see those 4,567. I don't want to know exactly how many it is, but I know if I start a video that way, it'll do that. But then I like for a certain time, I would like, okay, I'm only then posting that kind of stuff. But then I was like, no, I gotta like play a little like card game, where like, yeah, I'm for sure still dealing the finish card to you, but in between every now and then we got to talk about whether it be football or whatever my other stuff is that isn't anything finish related, because like you said, it's then it gets them to know you. And but no, to hear that, because it's like Yeah, I think sometimes someone has said like, "Aren't you the guy that just like talks shit about Finland?" And it's like, "Ooh, yeah, I don't like that fucking label at all." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah, it's fucking it's a pain in the ass to do that, but you have to, because if you don't, you're gonna hate yourself, because you're gonna live in a shell. Like you're gonna become your identity is going to be most heavily associated with one aspect, one tiny minute aspect of who you are, and it's going to crush you, because you're gonna feel like the diversity of who you are as a person is going to be watered down to this one thing. And if you're not careful, you're going to focus on that one thing, and you're going to try and make that one thing the central piece to who you are as a person, because, well, TikTok is like an essential part of what we do, right? The other issue is, of course, the fact that there's no longevity. You're not going to be able to show people who you are, or whatever. But the other issue associated with it that I think is kind of like the smaller issue that people don't like talk about enough, is the idea that if you are consistently doing this one thing, you as a person are going to get sick of it.
yeah, yeah.
And you're going to get stuck, because you're not going to know what else you're going to, whatever the fuck you need to, you're not going to know. And you're just going to be stuck in this one place, and you're going to hate it.
No, dude, you nailed it. I ran into that before I did before this fall when I drove from Finland to Portugal. Like the last like month I was in Finland, I was like, I don't have anything to say. Like I don't, I stopped recording for a while. Like kind of, I needed a little bit of a break from the podcast, and was like, I'm just saying shit to say shit sometimes.
Yep.
It's like I can tell when there's something that is, I'm like, oh yeah, I really feel that, and yeah, that is a good joke, or that is a good clip, or whatever it may be. But then there'd be sometimes I'm like, it would be the opposite, where I'd just be like, oh, that would be a good clip, I should say it, rather than, oh, I fucking want to say this, and oh, it then will be a good clip. It's like that.
Yeah.
So no, that's a weird. You've said some things today that
It's like a therapy session.
the
for
whole
free.
TikTok world is a really strange fucking place,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, it's all social media, man. Like, and this is why I have a bone to pick with like the Gary V's of the world. You know what I mean? They're just put out content, man. Like, just no, Gary. There's more to life than fucking numbers and boosting your whatever. Like it's just it's so narrow, and not everybody is this like atypical like hyperactive, like constantly on the go kind of person. Like most of us need a minute to just like sit,
Yeah.
and just be. And there's nothing wrong with that, but this hyper consumerist like society that we've created needs hyper producers to be able to feed the needs of the consumers. And there are two types of people on social media. Those are the hyper consumers and the hyper producers. We fall in the hyper producer category because we're constantly feeling this need to produce something so that the consumers can have something to consume. And my ethos, oh God, I'm going to make a TikTok. I know what to make about TikTok. I have a TikTok idea now. Anyway, the fucking drought is over. This hyper need this super hyper consumeristic fucking landscape we have. My whole thing now is fuck that shit. Fuck it. Like, just speak when you have to. Just make something when you have to. But my numbers, my stats, I'm never going to be famous. You're never going to be famous. There's no, like, dude, I had 100, I'm almost at 150,000. I realized that even if I get to 1 million, I'm still going to be like, there's going to be a glass ceiling that I'm going to have to try and get through. Just get a normal job, start a business, I have a buddy. He's a mutual of mine on TikTok. And I'm not going to say his name, but he's got like 2 point something million followers. And he I look at his account, and I've talked to him a few times, and I kind of get the feeling where he's also in that. We've never talked about this, but I get the feeling where he's kind of in this place where it seems like he figured it would be different. You know, you hit that number, but you still have,
you got like this like golden card that you get to put in your wallet kind of thing. Yeah.
And, you know, I look at his numbers, and it's like 2 point whatever million followers, but he's got some videos that like barely break 10K. You know what I mean? And it's like, you really realize that those numbers don't mean a damn thing. They don't matter. So instead of trying to boost your numbers, what you should be focusing on, if you really, really want to do this in the sense of like actually make it count, is instead of focusing on your follower count, focus on just like speaking when you need to speak, making content that actually matters to you, giving yourself space to breathe and be a human. And that shit will hit. And no matter how many followers you have consistency. Right? A lot of people like put out 2-3 videos a week, or 2-3 videos a day. Fuck that shit. Put out one a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put out one a week that's really good, high quality, nice. Engage with it for an hour, turn it off. And then go back to being productive somewhere else with your life. Oh, hold on. Hi, Mom. She's going to work. Hold on.
I
have to say goodbye to the girlfriend.
That was fun.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. This numbers conversation is actually last night. It came up. Last night, honestly, I'm glad the timing of our conversation like happened now rather than last week, just given what we're talking about and my hippie beliefs, the timing's always right and all of it. So we're truly supposed to talk right now, but someone asked me about it, was like, they said, you know, well, how many followers do you have? And it's like, that question just sucks because there's no way to answer it and not sound, I don't know what, like big, because if you say, oh, I don't really know, like you're lying, because we all fucking know, you know, like, yeah, maybe you don't know the 0.1 or point whatever, but you know, around the number. And I said, yeah, I just got to 50,000 like last week or the week before or whatever. And just like it was weird because I felt weird saying it. But then also the reaction it got from the guy was like, 50 in Finland, was like, it validated me to him in a way, you know? And it's like, that's so fucking stupid. I guess it's cool on one hand, but in the other, it's like, do you really care? Like, why is that it's so hyper focused?
Yeah, well, it means something to them because I remember before, like, because I remember being a bum ass musician that was going nowhere on Instagram before someone told me to hop on TikTok, right? And I remember thinking like, well, I thought, you know, wow, look at that person, the girl that I know. There's a girl that I know that she's a fashion influencer in Vancouver. Okay. And I look at her and I'm like, wow, if I had 150,000 followers, I could do so much. My career, my art would be validated. Wow, look, 150,000 people like what you do. Maybe 150,000 people like what I do, right? And then you're on the other side of it, and you realize, no, that it's a big fucking lie. It's huge. It's the biggest lie on the planet. It doesn't change your life. It's cool. And maybe if I get to 1 million and I'm consistent and I network outside of TikTok and I make connections with, you know, different people, that will matter. But the simple number.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, what was what was your first viral video on there?
I was making fun of a Trump supporter.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is funny because like I'm a conservative. I just thought his video was annoying, so I just made fun of him. Okay. Right. It was him. It was like this old white guy with the American flag behind him, and he was talking about the impeachment of Donald Trump, and he was going on about like, oh, you know, we didn't impeach Obama. Donald Trump is, blah, 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 blah. And his video had like, I don't know, probably like 500,000, whatever. And I just do edit it. And literally the caption above just said, Canadian politely listens to American complain. And it's just me sitting there just listening. And I'm like, and I got my Canadian flag behind me and I'm dressed exactly like him. Like he's wearing a red flannel with like a hat and I'm wearing a red flannel with a hat. And it was just funny, and it was dumb. But I remember when that happened, dude, I still dream of the amount of serotonin and dopamine I got from that one moment. Like I still think about it. I was like sitting in my room and all these notifications and people like telling me, oh, you're funny. This is funny. You're valid. This is funny. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, like my little dumb monkey brain is just like going nuts. Right. And it's like, yes, wow, this is better than crack. What the hell? Like drugs, no thank you. Like, you know what I mean? And now, now it's like video goes like, does 100,000 views with like thousands of comments. So I'm like, I'm annoyed. I'm turning it off.
Yeah. No, dude, what you said, the serotonin dopamine hits is my viral video. I guess I had one while I was living in Spain, and that one maybe got me like a couple thousand followers, but I had one here in Finland. Shit, actually, yeah, I had my first viral video. It was like basically a conspiracy theory video, or not even, I didn't even get into it, but it was just a clip from the podcast where I said like the George Floyd murder felt kind of like a setup. And I like did it in like edited it in a like very like vague way that would make people comment on it. And I had like no followers at the time. I posted it. I was living in Barcelona, went to the beach where I didn't have any service or anything. And on the walk home, there's like one spot, like a cafe that I'd had the Wi-Fi to because I didn't have a phone plan at the time. So as I walked by that cafe, I connected the Wi-Fi there for a minute and my phone just literally like, bzzz, just like crazy. I like look and it's like, oh my God. And so that one, I don't know what it's at now, but speaking of Newsweek, to really get full circle, there was like on Snapchat, I don't know if it's Newsweek or I don't know if there's like a news on Snapchat kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that one, the thing was like, yeah, this new TikTok app is taking the world by storm, but is it a breeding ground for conspiracy theories? And they play a video and it's my video on there.
Really?
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah, dude. And I wasn't even using Snapchat at the time. And so a few of my homies from college messaged me like a screenshot or some, I don't know how they message it. They're like, is that you? I haven't talked to these guys in like 5-6 years. I was like, yeah, like what the fuck, dude? But no, I had another one here in Finland where I post it before practice. I get back after practice and I'm scrolling. It's like, first time I ever saw a 99 plus in the notifications. Yes. And I'm like, oh, that's dope. And I'm scrolling and it was like, I couldn't out scroll I had so many follows, like the red follow button, like you just keep scrolling and it's just follow. And it's like, I almost thought it was like, I'm sure some of it's bots, but like that feeling, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's like, and like, it sounds so weird because it's low-key embarrassing to admit this shit, because it's so cringy in a way.
We're like both close to 30 and we're both like,
yeah, I'm over 30. Being like, yeah, you see all these followers on TikTok, but just bro, to keep it real, that feeling of like, like I am funny, like I do this shit, like
yeah. Like, and like, it's weird too. Cause like growing up, like, fuck, I'm going to get canceled for saying this. A lot of my heroes when I was, in my early 20s, late teens, right. Kind of in my like hyper conservative phase where like people like, Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, I thought Milo Yiannopoulos was really funny. Like he was my introduction to conservatism because I never, because I was like, I grew up in a very lefty environment. By the way, the background noise, open the window. The background noise isn't bothering anything, is it? Can you hear it?
No.
Okay, I can hear it, but
okay, no, I can't.
As long as the mic's not picking up, we're fine. But yeah, so I grew up in a very like lefty environment, and I got like, I had like just the classic deluge of just like, you can't say that, you can say this. Like I was sleeping with a girl and we had just hooked up, and I said something just like offhand. I just made like a joke, and then she just started going on about how like I'm perpetuating the patriarchy and how like I need to like unlearn that if I ever want to like see her again. And I was like, I'm good. Like get out of my house. Like leave. Like we can have that conversation, but like don't come at me like that.
Don't frame it in that way.
Yeah, like don't put like don't fuck me and then tell me that if I want to have sex with you again, I need to unlearn problematic behaviors, because it's like, this isn't a transaction. Like I'm not like I'm not paying you with servitude to like, I thought this was just a thing we were doing. You know what I mean? And I was and then all of a sudden this like gay this skinny little gay man with a stupid blonde haircut is on Joe Rogan, and he's like making fun of these people, and I'm like, oh, wait, you can do that? You can make fun of people that make you feel bad, that like hurt your feelings and like attack you for no, right? And I was like, oh, I loved it. I loved it so much. Obviously now I understand, like, okay, probably not the best role model. The guy's got problems. You know what I mean? Like not everything that he says is golden, right? I was like 19 at the time, right? So like right at the dumb, like right in the cusp, right? Like people talk a big game about like 19 as an adult. No, it's not. 19-year-olds
are
fucking stupid, man. Like you're on the cusp of adulthood, but your brain is still forming, and like, you know what I mean? You can get drunk at a bar and like, fuck your whole life up, right? And you're bound to do it. And this, I remember. So I got really, and he became like one of my heroes. And then like I kind of went down that pipeline, that alt-right pipeline. I went down the rabbit hole, and then I came out the other side later on in my life, more centered, more, still conservative, but like not as partisan, whatever. But it's funny to me now because I look at the content that I make, and I look at the way that people react to me, and I look at the people who engage with the things that I make, and I'm like, I am some kid's Milo Yiannopoulos. I'm some kid's Ben Shapiro. Like I'm, or if we want to go left, I'm some kid's, fucking Cenk Uygur or whatever, right? Like, I don't know Hassan, whatever his name.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the handsome socialist guy,
yeah,
right? Like, I'm some kid's that, right? Because I'm saying things that a little controversial, that speak truth to power, that represent this. That represent this kind of pushing back of the narrative, and it's like a crack.
Yeah,
crack in the
something
system
that people think, but most people are kind of afraid to put out there.
Yeah, they're at least afraid to talk about it.
Yeah,
and I am, and it's just funny to me because I think to myself like, like how the fuck did I get here?
Yeah, seriously.
I just wanted to make music, man.
I mean, that is your story with that is an interesting one, because it makes a lot more sense objectively that I'm posting podcast clips to get people to listen to me talk more. Like I'm talking to get people to listen to me talk, but you're kind of like seeing through the lines, I think, of figuring out, like we talked about earlier, I'm going to get people to listen to my music because they like me, and they're going to like me for me being me and me speaking.
Yeah.
And so it's a much more like roundabout way of accomplishing something, or like having a goal towards it. And I mean, did you think you would have gotten to where you're at right now? Like if you pre TikTok, would you have imagined? I mean, it's hard to even imagine TikTok pre TikTok, but do you know what I'm saying? Could you have even imagined that you would be at this point?
No,
No shot. Yeah.
no shot. I had always dreamed of somehow getting to a point where I could be doing this. Just saying the things that matter to me, which ultimately, right, like whether we know it or not, whether it's intentional or not, we're always leaning towards the thing that is the most important to us, even if it's not something that we think is the most important thing to us. Does that make sense? Right? So like, for example,
wait, hold on. We're always leaning towards the thing that's most important to us, even if we don't think it's the most important thing to us.
Right?
Mm,
You can't cut out who you are as a person. And when I'm in the shower thinking, I'm not thinking about being on stage playing concerts and shows and having fans adore me. I'm always thinking about sitting in the Joe Rogan podcast arguing with that bald monkey about something that doesn't matter, or that does matter to me, at least something that, which I love you, Joe Rogan, but you are a bald monkey. You probably take that as a compliment. You're like, do you know how fucking strong apes are?
Yeah. Dude, how sick you've man, I appreciate this because like you've admitted some things that I've for sure wanted to admit, and I feel like I've always been a person to speak my mind, but part of the funk that I feel like I've been in is I haven't been at the same level as I always have. And dude, being on Rogan would be same exact thing when I'm walking. My thing's more when I'm walking down the street, I'm thinking, man, I'd fucking kill Rogan. You know, like I would kill it on Rogan. If it there's been, just the ultimate narcissist. There's never been anyone like me on Rogan. You know?
Yeah, it is the ultimate narcissist, right? Dude, like it's like I feel the exact same way. Like I watch him on a podcast and I'm like, no, fuck this guest that you have on. He's saying things that I don't agree with. Bring me on. Like, let me talk. You know what I mean? But like, I'm like fucking random 27-year-old balding guy who like lives in an apartment with his girlfriend and makes music and says shit on TikTok. I'm fucking nobody, my guy. But I'm sitting here like, I am the smartest person on the planet, and I should go on the biggest podcast on the planet and say my wisdom.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, I mean, that's part of the reason I almost sometimes am like, I should get into comedy. Like, then I got a shot of getting on Rogan.
Yeah, just go to the comedy store like 3 times and it'll like bring you on and be like, so you're the new guy at the comedy store. Hey, I love the comedy store down in LA.
Yeah. No, shit. What? The Rogan thing to transition. He is uncancelable.
Yes, 100%. Hold on. I'm going to take my sweater off. I'm like way too hot right now.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm going to put on a t-shirt because I'm super hot too.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Wardrobe change.
Oh, good. We're both showing our nipples. That's great. Yeah. I took my shirt off and I was just like, oh.
Yeah.
Fucking.
No, now this is all for the content. So now it looks like we've had 2 discussions. We're both wearing 2 different things.
This is part 1 and part 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, dude, Rogan's 100% uncancelable.
I mean, and it's this last attempt of the whole N-word video would just, I mean, you already kind of knew the smear tactics of the media and everything, but that one like couldn't have been and made everything so much more obvious.
Yeah, that was one of the greasiest fucking things I've ever seen in my entire life. Like
insane,
greasy, like stupidly greasy. The implication that Joe Rogan is somehow like a hidden avowed racist when he has like Snoop Dogg on his fucking podcast, for Christ's sakes. Like, and I get it. Like, we're 2 white guys and our opinion, whatever. But like you can call
a spade. Like, you know a racist when you see a fucking racist. You know one. You know that a person is racist when you actually see a racist, because you go, ooh, ugh, that's racist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, he definitely probably shouldn't have said the N-word, but at the time that he said it, it was socially acceptable to say it in quotations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said it like, yeah, I thought he was a little smarter than to say it 70 times, even no matter what the context is, while a camera's rolling and a microphone's on.
Yeah,
That
dumb as
one,
fuck to do that.
that was pretty stupid. But
Yeah.
the thing is he'll be the first one to say, I'm kind of stupid. So what are we that surprised? And then I don't, you saw the UFC guy, the style bender guy, bro? That might've been one of the greatest quotes, like,
Yeah.
and responses ever.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I'm very glad I saw a lot of people from the Black community come out and defend him, which
Yeah.
I'm very happy about, because they know, like, okay, he probably shouldn't have said that. They can have a conversation with him about it in private and, like, whatever, do their thing. But I think the thing that drives me the craziest is when white liberals go out of their way to be offended on behalf of minorities and make a big deal out of something that minorities, most of them would be like, that's not a big deal.
Totally.
Chill the fuck out. That's not like that. Like, yeah, we're going to have a conversation with the guy about it, but it's not like, we're not going to kill him over it.
And it's for sure not your place, Susan, to be the person that's like leading the charge. If a charge needs to be led, you're not the leader, like that was,
let the members of that community be the leader.
Yeah, exactly. Like if we're going to charge, if there's going to be a charge, then it needs to be the people that it's affecting the most. Like, I'm not saying it has to be all of them, but they have to be the ones to make the call. Like my high school we used to be the Issaquah Indians, and like 07, 06, right before I got into high school, we changed to the Issaquah Eagles, and like the local tribe voted that it's okay, like we don't care.
Yeah.
But it was a super white liberal mom that was like, no, this is wrong, we need to change it, when the tribe themselves was saying it was cool. It's like, just weird situations like that.
Yeah, it's odd. It drives me bananas. Like, I got a buddy. He's like one of my best friends. He's a Latino gentleman, and one of the things that he hates the most is the term Latin X. Hates it because he's like just because what did he say? He said, just because you're uncomfortable with gendered language doesn't mean that you need to colonize my language and change it.
Yeah, what even is Latin X?
It's essentially, well, because you know how there's Latino and Latina.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's like Latinos, male, Latina is female, Latinx is, well, we should just use that because it's, non-gender, it's just, we don't know. So we'll just call everyone Latinx. And every Latino I've ever met has been like, no, fuck off. Like, fuck off. Just because you're uncomfortable with language doesn't mean you can change the gendered pronouns in our language. Get out of here.
Bro, I had no clue that's what it was, and now I get it, and now that even is more dumb than I thought, because I mean, like, whoa, yeah, that it's no, you're just looking for things to complain about and make up at that point.
Yeah, dude, people who have nothing going on in their life and who feel empty and void of like identity and personality and anything good in the world will fucking find problems to fight and fix, because they will create problems to fight and to fix because they're empty, vapid wastes of space.
Dude, that's
one of the most brutal things I've ever said. Goddamn. Continue on.
I know. I'm like, all right, how do we pivot from here?
Sorry, you got me at like my most, like, this is probably the most honest interview I've ever done. You got so many clips in here that like they go viral. It's like, who is it? We got to get this white motherfucker with the mustache. Someone kill him.
I'm like I said, I'm glad it ended up being right now, because they're just like, I needed to talk and hear some of the shit you're saying. So it's always
good. You caught me at the most gloves off moment in my life. I'm like I'm very tired of dealing with it and being nice. And this is why I took a break, because like, it got me all depressed and sad, but it also got me very angry. So it's like I gotta get to a point where like I can channel that like aggressive energy in a way that's actually going to be productive and fruitful, because I think there's good that'll come out of being able to be like, no, listen up, you fucking idiots. Like, just you are ruining this planet. You are ruining North America. You are ruining everything that we have fought tirelessly to create because of your own narcissistic, hyper-consumeristic personality type that is so void of any purpose or identity and meaning. Like your whole life is literally just wake up, go to work, watch Disney Plus, like fucking smoke weed, be a degenerate, watch porn, like just consume, and then to make yourself feel better about being just essentially like empty, you go out of your way to create problems that end up dividing everybody, and it just fucks everything up. Like it's just get a personality.
Who are you, like who do you have in mind, like when you're saying this type of, like what's the like root of it?
Like what do you mean the root of it? Like the root of the problem, the root behind the person?
Is there a, the person that you kind of just described, is there a, like, there, I guess, root of it in the sense of kind of the shit that's going on in Canada? Is that the person you're describing? Like who's the person you're describing?
I think it's a North American and Western culture problem. And the person that I'm describing is your average comfortable middle class to upper middle class suburban person. Right. And it goes both ways. My guy. Like, I haven't even gotten started on my issues with right leaning people who fall into that category, because they do the exact same bullshit just for a different tribe.
Yeah. No, totally.
Right?
Both wings belong to the same fucking bird. It's like,
yeah,
that is
right.
And on this Canada thing, although you chose quite a 2-week stretch to not be on your phone, not be on social media. I mean, I'm sure you know what's going on, but talk about a 2 weeks break. COVID is now over, according to Twitter. No one talks about that anymore.
Yeah, we're on Russia now.
Yeah, exactly. But I was thinking about this, is the stuff still going on? And like, how did the trucker thing end? Because I don't even know how that ended, because of how everything went,
Okay. So dude. Woo. Okay. I want to preface this very quickly. I want to just kind of skirt into another direction, just to be clear. I'm not just hating on liberals. I get angry at conservatives that also make a mountain out of a molehill. Right. So like, for example, just a small example, people who go into restaurants or grocery stores not wearing masks and make a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
It's like, you get it. I get it. You don't want to wear one. I understand. But just put the fucking thing on when you're in the grocery store for 30 minutes so that the little teenage employee doesn't have to come over and ask you to, because you're specifically not wearing it, so that you can then go, you're a fucking commie, you are part of the state, you're not, I hate you. And it's like some kid making $12.50 an hour. Leave them alone, for God's sakes. Like, you have nothing going on in your life. You are so fucking comfortable that the biggest problem you have is you have to wear a mask in a grocery store.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Be grateful. Shut the fuck up. Now, we preface that by saying I'm pissed off at everybody. But my number one thing is people need to stop fighting with each other all the time about this bullshit and really start to get to the root of the issues in their own lives and who they are as a person, which leads into the trucker protest. Oh my God. Where do I start? Trucker protest, from the very beginning, was doomed to fail because the federal government and the mainstream legacy media had a bone to pick with these people. And I think there are aspects of the trucker protest that were questionable. The leader of the trucker protest, one of the leaders of the trucker protest, is a guy named Pat King.
Okay.
Pat King is he is very clearly a white nationalist. Like, he has talked about replacement theory. He's talked about the idea that like a mosque being built in his city is equal to genocide because it's trying to get rid of the white race. Like, he is a fucking lunatic, like a dumb person, just terrible, awful human being. But he's one man out of 10,000 that showed up on Parliament Hill. One man. He might have been one of the leaders, one of like fucking 20 that are of a diverse group of people. But they, of course, focused on him because he's an easy target. A few people showed up to the rally with like Confederate flags, and one person showed up with a swastika flag. Right. So once again, easy targets to attack. Problem is, trucker
Confederate
protest
flag in
Canada. Yeah,
Canada? Okay.
my guy.
Okay.
That's a big thing in some of the rural areas of Canada, because it's kind of been taken on as kind of an homage to rebellion.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know that. Okay.
Right. There's a big divide between the cities, which is where most people live, and then the rural, farming, similar to America, right? Areas around it. And there's a very big kind of hatred for Ottawa and Ontario in Alberta and Saskatchewan. BC has it, but it's cut half and half because, one half is like the coastal yuppies and the other half is like hard working mountain men who like live in trucks and fuck pigs, right? So the trucker protest ended up going to Ottawa. It was basically peaceful. There was obviously some issues that the media very hyper focused on, right? The war memorial, someone pissed on the war memorial, but the truckers responded by putting up guards to stop that from happening, laying flowers and cleaning it. Okay. Someone took a Terry Fox statue and put an anti-vax sign on it and a Canadian flag, and everybody freaked out because Terry Fox is like a Canadian hero. So the truckers took that off and they cleaned it.
He was like a sprinter or something.
Yeah, he was a marathon runner. He had cancer.
Okay.
He had cancer and he ran across Canada with one leg, essentially.
Oh, damn.
To raise money for cancer research.
Okay.
And he, a few other things that happened, but for the most part, it was a diverse group of people, fairly peaceful. They were having parties. There was bouncy castles that they brought in for the kids that were there. Like, one of the biggest leaders of this group was a Sikh guy and his Sikh homies, right? Talking about how, like, vaccine passports are a bad thing. Mandates are a bad thing. Like, we don't need them anymore. Let's move on. Okay. Which I'm wholeheartedly on that side. Like, I think, we don't need mandates. We don't need them. We're past it. We're good. We probably didn't even need them in the first place, but they happened. Let's get rid of them. Most of us are vaccinated. Okay.
Yeah.
Move on with life. But because there were some things that happened that were negative in Ottawa. The media had a narrative that they could spin. It got all of the normal, suburban, tuned out, go to work, consume media, come home people just livid because I thought they were comparing it to January 6th, right? Like, this is our January 6th. It's like, no, it's not. No one's trying to break into the Capitol. There's no violence. No one's threatening to hang the prime minister. Like, no one's chanting like, kill
they
Mike
should
Pence.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Trudeau is an asshole. Like, I'm not a big fan. But no one was doing that. But what really tipped it over was the truckers decided to get a little bit ballsy, and they blockaded major routes in and out of the country. So they blockaded Coots, which is which is a border town in Alberta between Alberta and the States. They blockaded a bridge between Ontario and Michigan. There was a blockade down in BC, Peace Arch, and I think it was Peace Arch at least. And that's when the federal government decided to declare a state of emergency.
Okay. So I didn't realize that it was happening in multiple places like that, and that it was to affect the border. I just thought they were just fucking shit, just blockading
the city.
Yeah, but I didn't realize it was with the border in mind. I loved following it from Twitter because it seemed like every day there was like witty response to some rule or some speech. Like the one that I loved the most was when they said like you couldn't bring gas tanks or something to help the people out or help the truckers out, and then so everyone walked in with like empty gas tanks because it's like, well, you can't get us all like that.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of that type of shit.
I loved that. I thought that was so good. And it really it divided but unified at the same time, right? Because everybody who's kind of quiet and on the fence but was kind of for the truckers came out of the woodwork, right? I came out of the woodwork, right? Like a lot of us started being like a lot more vocal. But the
And
people
worldwide, bro, it had an impact
Yeah.
too. Like with everyone being like, "Oh shit, this could like maybe work and do something." I mean, I think they might have. There might be a convoy happening in Finland. I don't know if it happened already or it did,
Yeah.
but who knows? No one cares. Like I said, no one cares anymore. It's not even news because of Russia stuff. But I mean, it impacted the world.
It did, and it was a sight to see. But unfortunately, the blockades at the border, at the Coots border, there was the RCMP raided someone's RV and they found like 6 firearms and like bulletproof vests and a bunch of shit too.
Oh damn!
So like that was like kind of the clincher where the government was like, okay, Emergencies Act. I disagree with the Emergencies Act, and so did essentially like I think like 7 out of 10 provinces disagreed with it as well. Like
what's the Emergencies Act technically?
Emergencies Act is a replacement for the War Measures Act. The only time, or the last time the War Measures Act was used in peacetime was actually with Pierre Trudeau Sr., so Trudeau's dad. It was during
his dad was a prime minister too.
Yeah. Justin Trudeau is the son of Pierre Elliott Trudeau. Pierre Elliott Trudeau being the prime minister who brought in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. One of the most influential prime ministers in Canadian history.
Oh damn.
Yeah. Family legacy. Like Trudeau was born and bred to be PM because of his dad.
Bro, when he talks now, I swear it's an episode of Black Mirror. Every time I see every time I see him at the podium saying something, it's like they took a deleted scene from Black Mirror and put it on. Like,
yeah.
But sorry, keep going. How, like, is it's over now? Like, there's no more blockades?
Yeah. So after the Emergencies Act was called, which essentially gives the federal government powers to just like do a lot of shit, not everything, but a lot of shit. They started freezing people's bank accounts without warrants.
I heard that.
So like, like if you donated to the trucker protest in large sums, they just froze your bank account. They froze the bank accounts of the truckers at the protests. They started revoking people's licenses and insurance, and they shut down like 39 trucking businesses in the province of Ontario. They declared that no protests would be legal because the Emergencies Act basically gives them the right to suspend protesting, essentially. So they put up like red zones, right? You can't protest in Ottawa. You can't protest at the border. You can't protest here or there. A lot of the provinces said this was unnecessary and that they could have dealt with it without the need of the Emergencies Act, which I think they totally could have. Like the police have the ability to do it, but the problem is a lot of cops didn't enforce the laws. They just didn't. They were insubordinate. They were told that they needed to clear out protesters in Ottawa, and they just didn't. The ones at the border of Alberta, when the Emergencies Act got called, the protesters at the Coots border decided to leave because they didn't want to basically get in any more trouble. And when they left, there's a video of the RCMP officers like hugging the protesters and being like,
"Okay,
so
I saw that. I saw that
Yeah.
video. I didn't know what it was over or what."
So there was obviously like a lot of, and like a part of the reason why it had to be called is because tow truck drivers in the city of Ottawa, like tow truck drivers who specifically deal with semi trucks, refused to tow the trucks of the truckers. Just outright refused. And when they were when the government called, the answer they always gave was, "We're sick. We have COVID." Every single time. And the reason is because they don't want to piss off their customer base, or they believe in the movement. So like the people were collectively, like at all levels, like the working class at all levels were collectively partaking in this protest to some degree. And, 30% of the country was on board with the protests, according to most polls. 30%, right? That's a lot of people.
Sure.
And the government needed to get a handle on it, so they passed the Emergencies Act. They shut down the protest. I was watching footage of them clearing it out, and they had to bring in a separate police force other than the RCMP and other than the Ottawa police force to clear them out. They had to bring in a very specific unit of Quebec police officers to clear out the protesters, like specifically Quebec riot police officers, because they were the only ones who were actually willing to do the job that needed to be done.
Man, it's so cool to me when a situation like that, where the cops then side with the people, because I feel in our time right now, everything going on, the most dangerous sentence is like, well, I'm just doing my job, and it's like, I get that. And sometimes, you got to do shit that you don't want to do for your job.
Yeah.
But then there's like, okay, at what level does the moral or your personal belief then trump I'm just doing my job? And so it was cool just personally for me to see someone in a position of like police. You got to see where the moral compass was for some of them, which was so fucking cool.
And they knew that a lot of these protests weren't violent. They had no legal right to break them up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at the border, they worked diligently to clear it because it's a thoroughfare and whatever. And they failed for whatever reason. But, it ended up ending with like I think it was like a couple hundred arrests, horses being brought in to like trample the protesters out, like the whole thing. Yeah,
that's right. It was like Canadian. It's like the Canadian police have been watching a lot of episodes of Cops over lockdown.
We could have a conversation about how the Canadian police force is arguably more fascist than America's, but that's a conversation for another day. After this, Google, it's something that happens in rural communities in Manitoba and Saskatchewan. Google something called Starlight Tours.
Starlight Tours. Okay.
Starlight Tours. I'll give you a little explainer. Essentially what happens is, so the RCMP is the federal police force, and essentially they were created to protect the borders, from Americans, and to enforce colonial rule. And there's a lot of unfortunate culture in the RCMP. RCMP is a good police force, but there's a lot of unfortunate culture in the RCMP, where in some rural areas, if there are Indigenous people that aren't behaving, the cops will just pick them up in the middle of the night and leave them out in the middle of the frozen tundra.
Oh shit.
To just die.
Damn.
And it's called the Starlight Tour.
Uh-huh.
And it never gets talked about because it is dirty and nasty, and most people don't want to think about their local RCMP force that works in the suburbs and like protects the neighborhood from burglars and stuff, also being a part, like also having a part of that police force in other parts of the province and other parts of the country, doing some really horrendous shit to an ethnic minority.
Yeah.
They don't want to think about that. And it needs to be thought about, and it needs to be talked about to be fixed, obviously, because that's fucked up. That should never be happening. But there's a pervasive culture in Canada of colonialism and racism that Canadians very seldom acknowledge or talk about. Very seldom. Like I would argue that our treatment of Indigenous people historically has been worse than America's.
Really?
Far worse.
Yeah, because I didn't truly learn how bad Americans were to Native Americans until when I went to University of North Dakota for a year and a half.
Yeah.
We were the Fighting Sioux. And so one of the required classes is, get this, Indian studies. Like, again, just so backwards in my mind of like, in the textbook or in the syllabus, Indian studies for Native American. Like it just so, but basically you walked away every day like, oh
Fuck.
damn, we just fucked them. Like every class ended like sad, like there was never one bright spot of, it was always like, well, and then we moved them here and it was doing pretty good there, but then we wanted that land, so we moved them there, and then they were doing okay there, then we wanted that, so it just, there was never a bright spot.
Yeah. It's awful to think about. Hard part is too, is because like I'm a white guy, like, and I was born in Canada, so it's like, how the fuck do I reconcile that? Like, how do I understand my own history in that light? And especially, it's like, it's not like I can leave. Like, I don't have anywhere else to go. Like, this is, in a very tongue-in-cheek way. Like, I am also indigenous to this land in the sense that like my family's been here for generations. I was born here and I don't have anywhere else that I can go. So I have to deal with the fact that the people who are indigenous to this land longer than I have been, whose families were upended because of my ancestors, I have to figure out how to bridge that gap and have that conversation. And we got to learn to live on this continent together in a way that's going to be mutually beneficial and good for everybody. And I think we can have that conversation. It gets hard, of course, when it gets muddied by like, of course, like woke activists who want to like be like, no, you're a horrible white person, you should just die. And then, conservatives that are like, we did nothing wrong, we conquered you, shut the fuck up. Like, both sides are equally dumb.
You're still here, aren't you?
Yeah. you have land and you don't have to pay taxes. What do you mean? Why are you complaining? That's the fucking dream. Like, low key, actually. I mean, the idea of like having your own land and not having to pay taxes, kind of like low key the fucking dream. But
for sure. And I don't know how it is in Canada, but that was like one of the other fucked up things from that class, is like learning about how the reservation system was set up. And it just constantly, the land, from what I remember, just the land continually gets divided and divided, for every family member that comes in, and yada yada, to a certain point where to do anything useful on the land, you got to get X amount of votes or something, that it becomes impossible because people die, people move, whatever, that you can't get the required votes for it to even happen.
Yeah, no, the reservation system is horribly broken, but indigenous people don't want to get rid of it because it's the last vestige of their own nationhood. Right?
Yeah.
You get rid of the...
It's like better than nothing, which is like at this point the last step.
Yeah, like at that point they just kind of entirely lose their like heritage and their nationhood status, and you just kind of get consumed by the overarching culture, right? The reservation system is like a welfare trap.
Yeah,
essentially.
True. Yeah, it like makes you just fall into that loop of the exact same thing, and you can get out of it, but
it's hard.
And it doesn't offer a ton of motivation to get out of it.
And the alternative is, with welfare, the alternative is you lose your money and you lose the free benefits and the perks. The alternative to getting rid of the reservation system is that indigenous people lose their national autonomy and their ability to be a nation and self-determine, and like that's the trade-off. And in a weird way, like in my own ignorant mind, I think, well, that's fine, like just make the trade, but that's an integral part to their identity, right? The land that they live on and their ability to self-autonomize and whatever. So like, I don't know. I have no fucking clue. I just got to learn how to, deal with the shit that is pertinent to me and let them figure out what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if this is insensitive, but not let it keep you up at night, because it
can.
It like and you deep down at your core you want to do something good and you're a good person, and to a degree, to a big degree, it's out of your hands.
Yeah.
It's just figuring out. No.
So it's person to person. That's the best I can do, right? And like, you know, and I mean, it tore me up, man. Like, and it really hurt last because I'm a very patriotic Canadian, right? Like, I love my country, love my country, and Canada Day is my favorite holiday. Like, you know, it's just a bunch of Canadians getting like regardless of color, brown, white, yellow, whatever, just getting together, getting drunk, shooting off fireworks, eating hamburgers. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we're not America. Woo! You know what I mean? Like,
what day is Canada Day?
July 1st.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's like 4 days before yours, 3 days before
Okay,
yours,
damn,
like
that's a fucking freedom ass week right there.
Yeah.
Jeez
It's
Louise.
a great week. I know a lot of
Yeah.
Canadians who celebrate July 1st and then they go down into the States for
Yeah, see, I was
for the
gonna
4th.
say, make
Yeah.
a week out of that.
And you know, I love that holiday, but right around that time, there was a bunch of essentially mass graves of like dead Indigenous children that were uncovered at old residential schools.
Whoa.
Yeah. And you know what a residential school is?
No, I don't think
No?
so.
So you guys had them in the States too, but Canadian ones I think are maybe a little different, similar in concept. The church and the state got together to essentially solve the Indigenous problem, which was we have these Indigenous people who don't want to give up their culture. So the phrase was save the child, kill the Indigenous, or it was kill the Indigenous, save the child, or something like that. So what they did is they either kidnapped them in the middle of the night or they convinced their parents to hand them over. And they moved all of these kids to boarding schools. And at these boarding schools, they were not allowed to speak their language. They were not allowed to wear their ancestral clothing. They were not allowed to learn about their history. They were told to learn about white Anglo-Saxon Christian traditions. And if they stepped out of line, they would be abused and beaten. Unfortunately, they were also often raped.
Yeah, it sounds like just a recipe for disaster.
Disaster. Awful, right? And this system continued operating until 1997.
Whoa.
In 1997, the last residential school closed. Fun little side notes, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Justin Trudeau's father, expanded the residential school system in the 60s or 70s. I don't know the exact timeline, but he made more of them. Yeah. And at the time they were saying like, oh, this is a good thing. We're educating Indigenous children. We're giving them opportunities. We're, you know, giving them, you know, the chance at a better new life, getting them away from that horrible, poverty that they live in. But the system was perpetuating their poverty. And last year, right before Canada Day, there was a school in British Columbia in Squamish, I believe, that uncovered like something like 1,100 dead bodies of like kids. From like,
God.
yeah. And then after that, they just started to dig up and excavate and survey the land of all the other residential schools. And they started finding more and more and more and more and more mass graves. And
puts a little stain on Canada Day.
Oh my God, it rocked the country. And I was ballsy enough to still wear my little Canada Day shirt. I wasn't going to celebrate. I just decided like, I'm going to have a quiet, I love my country. I know this is happening, but like, I'm going to grab a beer with a friend. We're going to quietly just like, be like, you know, whatever. That was a mistake. I have never been so, I've never gotten so many death stares and so many people looking at me like a horrible human being. I live in the city. And like there was a parade, or not a parade, sorry, a protest that came through as I was walking back to our car because we left the bar early because like there's a bunch of people in there because they were wearing orange shirts because it was like orange shirts. There's a representation of something to do with the Indigenous movement. And there was a bunch of people in orange shirts like looking at me like I was just like I'd killed somebody essentially, right? And I was like, okay, this was a mistake. I get, and I understand now that that was insensitive and I probably shouldn't have done that, but I was still holding on to this like idea that like I know what happened and like I'm sad about it, but I still love my country and we're in the middle of a pandemic and I really want to go out and like, you know, enjoy my time. And, you know, it was a selfish choice and I shouldn't have done it. And I know that now. But yeah, it was weird. We were walking back, and I had to walk through this parade of people to get back to the car.
It's like a Larry David skit.
And they were all holding signs like KKK Canada. There's no pride in genocide, like end Canada Day or whatever. And I'm like, ooh, okay, all right. I made a horrible decision. I'm gonna rethink this one.
Big gulps. See you later. Like,
oh, shucky darns.
Yeah.
You know, so like after that I really dug deep and kept thinking and realizing like, okay, we can have Canada Day, but we also have to have reconciliation. Like we really have to really talk about this. And I have a buddy who's Indigenous. I've talked to him a few times about this, and he's like, no, the average white Canadian does not need to feel bad about anything. Right? You never killed any Indigenous kids.
Yeah.
You never poisoned the water source. You never colonized any land. You were born in a house in the suburbs. You know, like you didn't do anything wrong. It's the government we really need to hold accountable. It's the government we really need to go after. It's the government that should be paying reparations. It's the government that should be it's the government. The same government that is segregating people based off of their vaccination status. The same government that is, attacking peaceful protesters, whether they be white or Indigenous. The same government that is hell-bent on trying to turn you into a wage slave and keep you happy and content in your tiny little apartment in the sky,
freezing your assets, freezing your accounts.
Yeah, for donating to a protest that was deemed illegal after the fact, right? The same government that is just a horrible, terrible, fucking authoritarian nightmare. That is we all should be on the same page. All of us, Indigenous, white, Chinese, Black, Indian, fucking Pakistani, Australian, whatever you are. We should all be on the same page about the fact that our government, the Canadian government, is fucking awful, terrible, worse than the States. I will die on that sword. Worse than the United States government. Worse. Because they are just as evil, just as conniving, just as fucking greedy and horrible, but they are gaslighting the whole country into believing that they're not as bad and that they're the good guys.
Yeah.
And when I talk to immigrants that come here, they're like, I thought Canada was very different. I thought it was very different. And then I got here and I realized it is a hellhole and I want to go home, and but the funny thing is, and the thing that I don't think a lot of people realize is we'll never unify and like really make a difference in the government because the legacy media and the government are working together to make sure that Canadians are divided on party lines, divided on bullshit. White people and Indigenous people need to hate each other for some reason, right? Because if we ever got together and actually collectively decided like, what happened was bad. You should have clean drinking water right now. And we should not be pushing pipelines through your territory. And also, yes, white people should not, whatever the white problem is, I'm not going to get into it at the moment, but all of that stuff, we all collectively have issues that come from the government and we should all collectively just make a change.
For sure. No, dude, you sound American right now.
I fucking love the States. I know you guys have problems, but at least you guys have, like, Americans still have a revolutionary spirit. You guys still have that, like, that spirit of like rebellion and like, fuck you, don't, and Canadians just don't.
Yeah, that is, well, I mean, how do you see it going? What's the deal with, man, I don't know shit about prime minister. When's the next election? Because obviously a lot of shit probably needs to change, but if Trudeau is Trudeau, does it matter who is prime minister? Like, in the way I almost feel like it really doesn't matter who the president of the US is in the big picture of things. Does it matter if he's there or not?
Yes and no. I mean, the issue is systemic, right? So even if we got a prime minister that was like the greatest person on the planet actually trying to make changes, he's going against a system that's over 150 years old, right? The federal government is 150 years old, but Canada is a colonial state is much older. And I don't know. I think step one is getting Trudeau out and putting someone in who isn't going to make the problem worse.
What's the timeline on that?
Well, we just had an election less than a year ago.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So, and he won another minority. Like literally, the House of Commons changed by like a few seats. Like it was literally the exact same parliament. There was no difference really. He won the same amount of like votes percentage wise. He won the same amount of seats, same amount of power. Because he called the election because his polling was doing really well. And because in this country, the prime minister can essentially call an election whenever the hell he wants. I think it has to happen every 4 years, but it can happen sooner if the prime minister wants to, or if the House of Commons votes down something that the prime minister is trying to do, and it's a no confidence vote.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So for example, the prime minister can table legislation, and he can say, if this doesn't pass, it's a no confidence vote, and we're going to election. And if the government, like if the opposition parties vote it down, then Parliament is dissolved. We go straight to an election.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So we could hypothetically have an election like fucking 3 months after the last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Weird.
Normally it doesn't happen, but we could. My guesstimate, because he is in a minority position, he has so he do you know what a minority parliament is?
No, not really. I don't think so.
Are you ready? Are you enjoying this converation?
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, for sure.
This is like the area that I'm the most knowledgeable in, probably. So a minority parliament is when the government has the Liberal Party has the most amount of seats out of any other.
I have to say, hold on. I just have to say, like,
Yeah.
I'm just happy not to talk about fucking either COVID or Ukraine and Russia.
Okay,
Like,
cool.
You know, it's fucking so nice to have a passionate conversation about not those two fucking things.
Pog. Okay, I fuck with that. Good. So a minority parliament is, so there's 380 seats, I think, something like that in the parliament. The Liberals have the most amount of seats out of any party, but they don't have a majority of the seats in parliament. Okay. Because if they had a majority of the seats, they would have a majority government, which means that they don't need the help of any other parties to pass legislation.
So how many parties is there?
In the House of Commons currently, there are 4.
Oh, okay.
No, 5. Sorry. There's the Liberal Party, the Conservative Party, the NDP, which is the New Democrat Party, the Bloc Québécois, which is a French separatist party, Quebec separatist party, and then the Green Party, which is green.
Gotcha. Okay.
So at the moment, for Prime Minister Trudeau to pass legislation, he needs help from one of the other parties to do it, because he doesn't have enough votes in his own party to get it done.
Okay.
He's been propped up by the New Democrat Party, headed by Jagmeet Singh, for the last couple of years, essentially, like since like the 2019 election. Jagmeet Singh has basically just been like Trudeau's babysitter. Like,
okay,
just lets him do anything. He's kind of a
That's
sellout.
The like guy who has the turban on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen videos of him talking, and Twitter doesn't like him very much.
I don't like him either.
Okay.
He's like those really smarmy, like really annoying people that just follow the big social media trends, right? This big social justice trends. They have to have an opinion on literally every fucking.
Yeah.
He's that guy. He's that guy. So what I would assume is going to happen is Jagmeet Singh's probably not going to ever stand up to Trudeau on anything, because he's in a position where he can push Trudeau to get legislation passed that he wants passed. Because Jagmeet can say, Trudeau, I will help you pass this legislation if you and your party help me pass this legislation. And if you don't help me pass this legislation, then we're going to vote against what you're trying to pass, and we'll go to an election. And nobody wants that. Right?
Okay.
So likely the next election to be called will be because Trudeau wants it to be called, which will probably happen in a year or two. when he feels like he's in a better position politically, because right now his numbers have tanked.
Yeah, I was gonna say it wouldn't be good if it happened now, would it?
No, not at all. There's actually a chance he might get replaced before the next election as leader of the party.
How does that even happen?
So essentially, the prime minister of the country is whoever is the leader of the party that has the most amount of seats.
Okay.
And
okay.
We don't vote for our prime ministers, right? We vote for our members of parliament. And then our members of parliament go to the house, go to the legislature. Whichever party has the most members of parliament in the house is the largest party, and whoever is the leader of those members of parliament is the person who is the prime minister.
Oh,
yeah.
Weird. Okay. So different than ours.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, if the Liberal Party gets sick of Trudeau, they can just get rid of him.
Oh, and there doesn't have to really, I mean, there's a shift in power, but it's not from the party standpoint at all.
Yeah, it's literally just like hypothetically, let's say they realize Trudeau is like he's like a dead horse and he's not leading properly anymore, and they don't like him anymore, right? They think, okay, his time is done and he's a liability. They can trigger, I don't know specifically the Liberal Party's rules on triggering their own leadership review. I know the Conservatives, because obviously I'm a conservative voter, so I know their stuff a lot better. But they could trigger a leadership review, and then if enough of the members of parliament decide that they don't want him as leader anymore, he would be out. They would choose an interim leader to be the prime minister of the country and the leader of the party, and then they would hold an internal leadership election to figure out who they want to be the leader long term.
Damn. The Democrats could use that, although Biden, speaking of dead horses, like Biden just might fucking die, and they're gonna have to do it that way anyway. Because, man, how is it that North American leadership is in the place that it is?
I don't fucking know.
Like, it's scary, man. You know, like when you think that big of a continent, that many people, and the two people that are like quasi in charge,
yeah,
that's what we got. Like, holy smokes, man.
I know, dude. People are easy to manipulate, and establishments, like established companies, established governments, established media, they have an interest in putting people in charge who are going to do what they want and who they can sell to the populace to easily manipulate them into voting for them.
Yeah. No, I don't have a ton of hope, to be honest, although like that trucker convoy was kind of one of those things where I had hope. Now it's so fucked up to say, but I'm like happy about the invasion because it has made COVID disappear. And so at the, hopefully the war doesn't go on, or the invasion doesn't go on for another 2 years like COVID did, but because there's going to be a next new, like I was thinking about this the other day is, bro, what happened before COVID? What did the new American media talked a lot about Trump, but it was never these like super serious things all the time. And so now between COVID and then the war following it, like aliens is the only next logical thing that the media could like one up itself in terms of like, clicks and getting views. So it's kind of scary in a way of, man, I wish we could just go back to like boring news days, but it will never happen.
Yeah, boring being a hurricane hitting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Seriously.
I know. I ask myself the question a lot, and I think the logical answer is that it'll probably just cycle between things, right? People got tired of COVID, so we've moved on to the war. COVID's still around.
Yeah, exactly.
Governments are still doing things like, and the funny thing is things are quietly opening up, like Alberta and Saskatchewan have both dropped all of their mandates.
Yeah, starting yesterday in Finland, everything. I mean, it was pretty chill here
To
the
begin
whole
with.
time,
Yeah.
but now it was maybe like the last month or two, bars could only stay open till like 11 or midnight.
Sure.
Maybe a month before that, they could only stay open till 8. But
Yeah.
now everything's been dropped and they can be open till 4 or whatever it is, and no capacity issues. And it, yeah, like you said, slowly the world is opening back up.
Yeah. Which I think is, I think is funny because we've been wanting this for so long and now we don't even get to enjoy it.
Yeah, that's
Like,
my Finnish buddy was like, man, I just hope, because Finland, with Russia invading Ukraine, there's a lot of like Finnish anxiety because of what's Russia's tried to do here. And he's like, man, I just hope now that everything's opening up, like people go enjoy it and they don't
yeah.
stay at home and fixate upon Russia and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Some people will, some people won't. I'm a little peeved because things are still slow in BC. Like we still everything, all the restrictions are lifted except for the mask mandate, the vaccine passport, and like one more thing. And I think to myself like, oh, okay, well that's fine. I can, but it still there's a part of me that's kind of like, no, like just pull the last two. Just
Yeah.
just pull it, man. Just rip the fucking band-aid off. Everywhere else is. Alberta's dropped it. Saskatchewan's dropped it. Ontario's about to drop it. Quebec is on the way to drop it. Like England has, like all these other places, and it's just frustrating because it's like we just want normal back.
And at this point, it's like, I don't know. To me, to continually, what scares me is I saw something that they're working, some German company just got the rights to do like a digital ID Vax Pass kind of thing for the future. And it's like, what are we doing? Half the country, I mean, not, I don't know how many, a lot of countries are just getting rid of everything entirely. And then we're still focusing on this thing. And then in some places like where you're at, they're still doing it. So it's like at what point does it go away? I mean, it was funny. It was funny for me that, okay, yesterday we could go out until 4 a.m., but the day before we couldn't. It was like, all that changed was the calendar. That was it. Nothing really changed. Like, so it's just so weird now.
Yeah, it's a bit odd. And as long as there's money to be made, there will always be an incentive for this shit. And like the thing is like what a lot of Canadians, especially like the more conspiratorial ones, are scared of is that the federal government's just going to bring in a vaccine passport, right? And at the provincial level, we won't have one, but at the federal level, they'll mandate it, and I'm sure the provinces will fight it. But that's totally something Trudeau will do, right? And I'm not one of those people that's like World Economic Forum, like, oh, they're trying to bring in the fourth industrial revolution and make us all slaves. Like, I'm not one of those people. I get the argument, but I'm not one of those people.
Yeah.
But I do recognize that there is at least a political and financial agenda around this stuff, right? Why is Trudeau so gung-ho about trying to keep the restrictions in place and forcing vaccines on people? The man pre-bought, because he's a fucking idiot that doesn't know how to do anything with money. The man pre-bought enough vaccines to vaccinate the entire country for the next 7 years. Pre-bought them.
Really?
Yeah, pre-bought them. So he can't get that money back. He gave it to Pfizer and Moderna and all of those people already. They already got the fucking money. The contract is signed. We're getting the vaccines, except Canadians don't have any interest in taking the product.
Well, and why would you buy for 7 years for something that should, in theory, shouldn't be lasting 7 years?
It would have made a lot more sense if he was really thinking like, okay, well, we might need vaccines again in the future. It would have made more sense for him to, I don't know, spend all that money, spend money on the vaccines in the short term, right? Get all those vaccines in the short term that we need or whatever. Spend money to build factories in this country to then manufacture vaccines.
Yes.
Right. oh, that's super logical, rational, good use of money, right? You won't need to force the vaccine mandate on anybody. You don't need to force people to take the product to make your money back, to recuperate the cost of that that burden that you put on the taxpayers by purchasing all that shit. But you have the capacity to ramp up vaccine production if we need it again. But he's an idiot. He's not a very smart person.
No.
And the problem is now we're in a position where he is going to get shot, like not literally, figuratively, if everything drops, right? If all the mandates drop, we go back to normal, there's going to be an election, and the Conservative Party is going to be able to say, you have spent billions of dollars on vaccines that we're not ever going to use because the Canadian people both don't want them and don't need them. We have enough to take care of the immunocompromised and the old, and for anybody who just wants a booster because they want a booster. But we have too many, and you spent all that money. And average suburban Canadians are going to go, yeah, that's kind of, why'd he do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably shouldn't vote for this guy. So the prudent political choice is to then continue to proliferate the need for these vaccines to get people hyped up and ramped up, so that when the election happens, he can say, well, we still need them. We have these mandates. We're still in danger. We still need them. And he can continue to further his career.
It's sick.
Yeah.
It's really sick.
It's
What-
gross.
What are you vaping?
Oh, I don't. It is called Louis XIV. So what is that? The fourth, I think. Louis the Fourth. Or sorry, Louis the 14th. My bad.
Yeah.
It's a nicotine juice. It tastes like some sort of like toasted cinnamon thing.
Yeah, I've recently, I hate to say it, but I'll smoke some cigarettes now every now and then, and it's like, do I want to become a vapor? But there's an aesthetic of smoking a cigarette that just can't be beat, you know?
Once you transition to vaping, though, you can't go back to smoking because the flavors are so bad with cigarettes.
Yeah, I have to do the, like, you know, menthols have all been banned pretty much everywhere except like Russia and Asia. But here they'll sell like a little flavor card that you can put into the pack, and I'm sure it's just adding another 100 chemicals, you know, that I'm ingesting. But it makes, because I hate the taste of tobacco, but it makes it not truly a menthol, but damn close. And it's nice.
Yeah, it is nice. I gotta take a piss.
Well, let's call it a day then, because we're at probably what, little over 2 hours now.
Yeah,
I think YouTube wise, I can only upload about 2.5 hours at least with my system. So, dude, this has been fun.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't go too far down the rabbit hole of political talk. I enjoyed it, at least.
Yeah, no, I learned something, and it's interesting to hear about other places stuff, and there's a real smug part of me that almost enjoys seeing other people from other countries mad at their government. You know, like there's like a real sick part of me that like almost enjoys and relishes in it. Like when Finnish people will complain about their shit after like kind of always being, we're not American, kind of tout, you know, that tout. It's like, well, welcome to my world, a little bit. So no, but in all seriousness, it's actually like fun to hear about sometimes. And it wasn't, even though we got a little COVID, we got a little war in there, but it
wasn't the whole thing.
We went 2.5 hours of damn near nothing on those topics, and that makes me feel good.
Yeah, take it as a giant W, man.
Yeah, that's a huge W.
Those are the easy topics to go off on too. So we did very well.
And I realized that nobody wants to hear me talk about fucking Ukraine and Russia, because like I have what am I gonna, you know?
I don't know. We could too many people talk about things they have no idea what the hell they're talking about.
So I don't. So alrighty, brother. Well, let's. There'll be a third episode at some point. you know,
Yeah,
maybe
there better damn well be.
yeah, maybe not a year from now. We'll see. We're on just about a year. So I think last one was, yeah, a year ago or so, a little bit more than a year.
Sick.
So.
Yeah, I'm down to do it again. I'm gonna need another one to clarify and apologize for anything offensive I might have said. So
I think you were pretty good, man. It was
great opportunity.
You were shooting straight from the hip. That's
what I'm doing lately, baby. Let's go.
That's what's the best, man. So
Yeah.
no, I think it's all good.
Cool.
Alrighty, brother. Take a piss. I appreciate you. I'm gonna, as we say that, I'm gonna go walk to the store and buy some cigarettes.
Okay. Cool. Don't smoke too many in a night, okay?
Last night was the night.
Okay, Joey.
Alrighty.
I'll see you later, buddy.
Much love, bro. Take care.
Yeah.
See ya.